want to talk to you about climate change and Greta. Now, Donald Trump, as you'd expect, has responded in a Donald Trump way. He tweeted this a little earlier today. Got it there? We haven't got it there. OK, I was told we had it. I'm sorry. Somebody just told me a little porky pie. Have we got it? Let's find it on my phone.
Don't forget, guys, his knee still hurts.
Keep talking. I got it. Oh, I'll just pull it up on
So
Twitter.
Greta Thunberg, I mean, to many people, she's an inspiration because she is leading the charge for tackling climate change.
She seems like a very happy young girl looking forward to a bright and wonderful future. So nice to see. So here's my conflicted view of Greta, which is that, yeah, she's highly impressive. I mean, to have a 16-year-old girl who's so articulate, so passionate, you know, I've got no problem with that. And climate change is a very serious issue. I get it all. There's something I felt very uncomfortable watching her yesterday. It was all a little melodramatic. It was all end of the world, apocalyptic. I don't want millions, if not billions, of young people watching Greta do that kind of speech and genuinely think the planet is literally about to end, because it isn't. So climate change is serious, it has to be dealt with.
It's urgent and pressing.
It is. It's an important issue, but it's not end-of-the-world stuff in the way that she's portraying it, in my opinion. Now, Laura, you are an expert in this. I think you've been tweeting about it a lot. Climate change is serious. I mean, it's happening. It's real. Almost every scientist will say that this is a very real problem, right?
99.8% of scientists.
Right, so give us some simple language about climate change. For people who'd like, yeah, I hear a lot about this stuff. What's the reality? What is the reality?
The reality is that I actually went on a climate course last week run by the Royal Meteorological Society, and we looked at everything that can make the Earth get warmer and colder. So there's lots and lots of people who think it's down to volcanic activity. We've been warmer than this before. It's down to Earth cycles, down to the sun. We looked at every single thing it could be, and they all had a negligible change on the temperature rise. The thing that had the biggest impact was the rise in greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide, which exactly tied in with the rise in temperatures on Earth. And that has all happened since the Industrial Revolution. And the Earth has never risen as quickly in temperatures, although it's been warmer before, and we've never seen carbon dioxide rise.
So the Earth has been warmer before?
In 3 billion years ago.
You see, that's what the people who are sceptical about the apocalyptic stuff say, well, look, the planet has gone through a lot of searing climatic changes. Is that true?
The temperature was higher 3 billion years ago, but the rise in temperature was over tens of thousands of years.
This is
now this rise
so it's the rate of change now is what's so concerning.
This was developed by a professor at the University of Reading to show the global temperature every year.
What are we looking at here then?
So every single one of these lines is a year from 1850 all the way through to 1900 and then the turn of the century here. And every single line is a year on Earth showing how it's got cold, warm, cold, warm, cold, warm, cold, warm. And it's this rapid rise at the end.
And when does that start? To your left, where are we there, roughly?
This is probably around about the 1980s.
Right.
And then this is the 2000s.
Right.
And it's this here that the last 19 of the top 20 years have occurred in the last 19 years.
OK.
And,
when they're talking about a climate emergency, you can see quite clearly.
And they've got ice cores that go back, you know, hundreds of thousands of years. We can look at air bubbles and see how much carbon dioxide was in the atmosphere. From that, we can infer how warm it was. We've never warmed as quickly.
OK, so now the question then becomes, what do we do about it? What is actually the most effective thing to be doing about it? Because there's an Australian commentator that's done the rounds virally about all this, taking the complete opposite view and basically lambasting the youth of the world for lassoing themselves to these protest marches and Greta and so on, and then immediately going back to their laptops, their iPads, their iPhones, their air-conditioned schoolrooms, their bathrooms, you know, and so on and so on. Their mums take them to school in nice gas-guzzling cars. In other words, people like to talk a good game about all this, but in their daily lives, we're now all just plugged in, aren't we, to stuff which is actually damaging the environment.
And this is the big thing we talked about on Friday with one of the ministers, that only 2 countries in the world are actually going to meet the Paris Accord agreements to try and limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. But if everyone did a little...
Who are they?
The Gambia and Morocco.
Right. And why are they doing it? How are they doing it?
They're developing countries and they're putting lots of time into renewable energy sources and lots of solar panels because they're obviously in a very hot climate and they have a lot of sunshine. But in the UK, we historically have the most carbon emissions than any other country. So we need to be leading the way.
Why do we?
because we started the Industrial Revolution and we pumped out lots of carbon dioxide a long, long time ago from the 1850s.
So we're quite a villainous country.
And carbon dioxide stays in the atmosphere for 100 years. Methane is the other thing. Lots of people are saying we should reduce our meat consumption. That stays in the atmosphere for about 28 years. But it's this lag in the carbon dioxide. We need to be cutting that down. So
well, when Greta paints a picture that literally the world's about to end, ecosystems collapsing, blah, 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 all that very emotive language, is it a little OTT?
Or does she have a point?
It really, really isn't. We've got a certain amount of carbon dioxide, and if we emit that, we're at this tipping point. We'll never get back coral reefs. We'll never get back the Arctic sea ice. You know, we'll ruin the jet stream. The thermohaline circulation could be cut off. We'll see lots and lots of the ice melting from the Himalayas, and that could release more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. We've got 8.5 years. If we don't stop polluting like we do, it might reduce to 6 years. So if everybody did a little something now, and if the UK lead as one of the biggest nations of pollution, we hope that obviously America and China will follow suit. China and only one other country, the only ones who haven't signed up to the Paris Accord. But if people, if you could do one meat-free day a week, if you could think about your food and buy locally and not throw so much away, if you could have solar panels rather than a gas for your house and you had electricity, electric cars, walk a little bit more. There's so many things. Yeah, fewer flights. The business... People are worried about going on holiday. You can still go on holiday, but it's people who have business flights, travelling, you know, to New York all the time, travelling to Europe. Maybe just do once a week, once a month. Try and... If everyone just cut back a little... I'm actually having a meeting today with one of our bosses about how at ITV we can be more economical and better with our recycling. But if everybody just did a little bit, we would stop this tipping point where that's it, it's cataclysmic,
Okay.
we'll never go back.
Well, it's an interesting debate, isn't it? I mean, I just feel uncomfortable that she has got Asperger's. So, you know, people who have Asperger's or families who have people with Asperger's, they don't like it being depicted as a mental illness. She seems very young. She seems very over-emotional, perhaps. Maybe rightly, as Laura said, for the right reasons.
Sounds like she's got every reason to be. I mean, she talks, you know, she's in tears there about the fact that she thinks that politicians are just wasting their words.
Yeah.
And as a result, her childhood has been thrown away. She should be at school. All those children out on the streets during the climate strike should be at school, but instead they're trying to do something which is saving the world.
And she used a really lovely phrase that even if we'll get on board to try and meet this limiting 1.5-degree temperature rise, it is 50-50 whether we could do it. A toss of a coin. Yeah. And we want to try and make the odds in our favour.
I mean, the point I would make, I've made this to Donald Trump, is that you don't really lose by doing something, do you? If it turns out it's not the crisis that everyone is portraying in the scientific world, and you've done a lot of stuff to try and combat it, you don't lose.
Well,
I mean, like, you lose a bit of money.
Yes, exactly. As she points out, is this kind of fantasy of continuing to make money and continual economic growth. So actually, business does lose. I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? And that's Donald Trump's problem, is that at some stage business has to take a cut. I mean, you're even saying, you know, people who travel for business have to take the biggest cut.
I mean, that to me is an unthinkable compromise.
No, for you, giving up meat.
No, and then I heard
having
you
a
said,
meat-free day.
Well, then I realised you said business and realised I never actually turned right on a plane, so it's fine.
No, exactly.
OK, well, it's interesting, isn't it? It's an interesting debate. Let us know what you think of Greta Thunberg. She's certainly an extraordinary character. I mean, she's got everybody talking, everybody going. She's fearless. She's fearless.
Amazing.
Yeah, but I would say I've got concerns.
Well, she has to have a very thick skin, because when you put yourself front and centre like that, unfortunately, I mean, if you look at the social media reaction to what she says, sometimes she gets...
Well, a lot of people, let's be honest, a lot of people find her very annoying, and they find her very hyperbolic and very hysterical and very over-emotional. That's the other side of her, is that she's not everyone's cup of tea. And not everyone agrees, of course, with the climate change.
But she's not out there to make friends with, is she? She's out to save the world, and she's got to appeal to a room full of people who she feels have broken their promises and get them to change their minds.
I get that. I think it's an interesting conundrum. When I watched her yesterday, I just felt uncomfortable. You do wonder,
what was the thing that made you uncomfortable?
That she might be
that she's telling.
She has two very politically...
Or the way she's telling it.
Well, she has two very politically active parents.
But we all inherit views from our parents,
Yeah,
don't we?
it's not that. Is she being exploited? You know, they are driving her as this kind of global figure. Is that healthy for her? Should she be? She says, back at school.
The way that she speaks, though, is really authentic. I mean, the passion is genuine.
Well, it is. Or maybe she's hamming it up a bit. I mean, that's...
No, I didn't get that.
Well, you're not getting it. I wasn't getting it. I was yesterday a bit.